Hello and welcome to Group 1's presentation for the SER 215 final project. The game that we decided to do was Battleship, a classic board game. And as you can see here, we have two sets of 3x3 tiles. One of them is the players, the one on the left, and one of them is the CPUs, the one on the right. So just following the instructions, pick a tile to place your ship within the left side of tiles. So out of this group, we pick one to put our ship down on. Let's pick the center one. Now it says ship, and it's a darker color. The CPU placed their ship, and see if you can guess where. We don't know where the CPU placed it, because that would ruin the game. So let's start guessing. We missed. The tile changes colors, and it changes the text to a miss. And it seems the CPU also misses. And that's over here. We can take another shot. Misses again. And now we hit. We found their ship, and we sunk them. The game's over. None of the buttons work anymore. And looks like we won. So now that I've shown you a quick run-through of the game, I'll show you now the kind of aspects that we wanted to fix, some of the things we found in testing that we needed to change. For instance, in the very beginning, how is the player supposed to know which one is their tiles, their set of tiles, their board, and which one was the CPU's? We have a little instruction set there, but in case you didn't read it or you just skipped right past it, what if you tried to put your ship on this side of the board? Well, if you try, a little message pops up saying you need to pick a tile from the player board on the left, and the tile is not selected. So you can see they're all water still, they're all active. So we select one of those over there. CPU place their ship, see if you can guess where. In case you don't quite understand how Battleship works, and you think that the CPU placed their ship somewhere over here, it does the same thing, that you need to pick a tile from the CPU board on the right. So the program differentiates between these two boards and lets the user know what's going on there. So we click and guess, and we both missed. Now this the tile that was selected changes color, changes font, but the other thing is no matter how many times you click, it doesn't work. The button is completely disabled, which is part of the JButton library that already comes with Java. We just kind of retooled it for our purposes. So these are disabled, and the same goes for the CPUs, but that's more for the game logic. So it doesn't guess the same one twice, which I'll be showing you later. But effectively, we cannot guess the same one twice. We cannot accidentally use two of our turns. And that's a pretty important part. So we're just going to keep guessing. And now let's say, what if I just want to shoot my own ship? Same thing. Doesn't work. Need to pick a tile on the right. So just keep guessing, and we found them. Now the CPU just kind of picks one at random. Completely random, whichever one it's going to pick, through the Java's random number generator, and it will never repeat. It will never repeat. And I'll show you the code for that as well. Here I have NetBeans with our project, an earlier iteration of our project, so I can show you some of the testing that we've done, some of the older possibilities that we ran through. But first of all, I'm going to be showing you right here in barebones battleship.java. That's where we have our current functioning program, the one that I showed you earlier. So we're going to scroll down a bit to get to the meat of it. Really, this is all it's pretty self-explanatory. We have an array of tiles, and that becomes the board. This JText area is the little text box in the center of the board that tells you what you have to do next, tells you what information you need to know as a player. Here in the action performed function, we have just about all of the game's logic going in place. So right now, every time a tile gets clicked, that's essentially like a J button getting clicked, and it sends out an action performed, an action event. So from that action event, we get the tile that was clicked, and this is just some debugging that we have taken out already for the final release. But here we check if game state equals 0, and over here in the comments, you can see that 0 is the start of the game where the player places the ship. Game state of 1 is a cycling of turns, which is when the game plays, and the game state of 2 is when the game ends, making the buttons do nothing. So if the game state is 0, it's the beginning of the game, and the tile is the player type over here. It does all the work to set it to the dark gray color, set text over here for the next step, but it turns that tile into our ship instead of just nothing, just the water. Now if the game state is 0, and else if the game state is 0, then we didn't select one from the player's side. It says this whole text right here, you need to pick a tile from the player board on the left. So this only comes up if we click one of the tiles on the CPU board. So here, if game state is 1, and the action tile is CPU, so if we're playing the game currently and we pick one of the CPU's buttons, their tiles, it goes through all the logic. First off, if the tile is the CPU ship, meaning it's the ship, we found it, we sunk it, it tells us we hit them, the game is sunk, the background color becomes red, the text becomes hit, and we increment the game state to become game state of 2, which, as you remember from up here, that becomes the end of the game and buttons no longer do anything. That's because we won the game, we sunk their ship, and yeah, we're good, we won. If we did not, then we missed. Those are the only options from here. So either we hit or we missed. So we hit, here's all this, we miss, we change the color, we set it to miss, and also down here it says action tile.set enabled false. So after the turn, regardless of the outcome, it will set that tile to, well, it will disable that tile so it cannot be picked again. If we win, that's not a problem, the game's already over, and if we missed, then that just means that we can't pick it again. So this line of code right here does that. Now it's the CPU's turn. What we're going to do is select a random tile through this pick random tile class that we have. I'll scroll down to show that right now. Now we send through it, as you see up here. Whoops. Now we send through the player's tiles, the tile array of the player's tiles, so that way it can in here do the logic to make sure that it's not reselecting. So we have a new random from the Java random class. We have a temporary tile, which is where we store the random selection, and in this while loop, where it says temp.isEnabled, it's not equal true. So this while loop goes on and on and on until the tile is enabled. So temp.isEnabled would have to not equal true for this to happen. And this line, all it does is rewrite temp so that it becomes another random variable. And we have tiles.length, so that way we never go out of bounds for this tile array. After all that happens, and after we finally find a value for temp that has a button enabled, we return that value, and that's when we come back here. That code right there is how the computer doesn't reselect any tile that it's already guessed, because up here, after the CPU's turn, right here, randomShot.setEnabled false. RandomShot is the one that we got right here through pick random tile player tiles, and we set that one disabled instantly because we don't actually need to press the button to do all the logic for it. We just need its information. So we set it disabled so that way the CPU can't pick it again. Next comes the logic for the CPU. If the shot is our ship, then it sunk us, the game's over, game state plus equals 1. But if it misses, we have the same set text to miss, set the background color, and now it says, and misses, take another shot. So now it's our turn again. So we scroll back up there. And also down here at the very end, we have the logic for if we click on the player tile after the game has already begun, where it says you need to pick a tile from the CPU board on the right. So that's the basic game logic right there, and that's pretty much that's the meaty chunk of what we have going on. It took a lot of work to get it all perfectly right, and as small as it is.